The city of Boise contains a thriving and exciting local music scene. Within this scene, it's very easy to focus more on the music that's being performed than the rhetoric that's being used. I interviewed 3 members of the Boise music scene,
Carsen, Cranny, Castaneda,
Cameron Elgart,
to get a feel for what kind of musical rhetoric can be found in Boise through band-to-fan communication, the internet, and youth culture. They all had very interesting and unique takes on these ideas. We first discussed the rhetoric between bands and fans within the scene.
What rhetoric is in music is it's all just appeal. I mean, bands are trying to appeal to their audience, whether it be through politics, through cultural norms that people experience through day-to-day life, whether it just be the genre in general. I mean, bands are always trying to just appeal to their audience, and I think that's fantastic because it develops a community, and it brings like-minded people together. And I just enjoy the community as a whole, and I hope to experience more of it as soon as this COVID thing is over.
Some bands are more like aware of their message and more in tune of what they want to say than others. So, because some bands just want to go out and play, and some bands just want to go out and have fun and make people dance and just have a good time. And other bands I could think of that like want to spread a specific message or maybe have a political side or whatever, So like, as far as rhetoric goes, I think people are aware of their audience and aware of what they want to do and aware of what they want to do with their music. And that's what affects what they're saying the most. So not so much like youth culture, but like, and outside external influences, but more like what they want to say. It's like that decorum aspect where they're aware of their audience and whatnot.
We then moved on to how although the internet is helpful for bands to promote themselves, it can also extend local bands' rhetoric. So internet has a huge culture on it, like, countless cultures. But I think like some of the most prominent, especially around younger people, is like meme culture and like internet joke culture and kind of like goofy stuff, but which has obviously affected, I think, music on a worldwide level. But do you think that's seeped into the like Treasure Valley music scene at all, where you kind of see internet culture intermingling?
Oh, for sure. I mean, you see cultures of punk bands advertising with SpongeBob, for crying out loud. I mean, you see it online, and if you follow any of the local music venues or any of the local bands on Instagram or Facebook or any of that, you'll see those type of posters, and you'll see just kind of like that appeal to the youth in a way. It is a way to advertise, but it's also appealing to the youth.
Yeah, there is like a little Instagram community that I follow a bunch of people. And they're not even necessarily just musicians. They're people that go to like almost every show, and they know the songs from the bands, and I see them promoting music from local artists, and honestly, it's really cool.
As far as the internet goes, there's a couple bands that come to mind that are like definitely like the forerunners of that in this Boise music scene that are really like in tune with their internet following, and I think King Queen Losers is a great example of that.
Send me an eggplant emoji. I sent him back a peach.
I mean, they have their YouTube and their Instagram and everything that's just like kind of part of their image as well. And I think as a Phets, it's kind of our, like, for an example, we try to make our social media like an extension of that experience, an extension of what you get on stage. So you kind of feel what our brand is and everything.
Our discussion of internet culture naturally led to youth culture and how it defines the rhetoric in the Boise music scene.
But I think there's definitely a younger crowd in Boise. I'm talking like late high school to early college kind of age, and I see a lot of similarities in those bands.
And like you said before, the local music scene is very much, it's more liberal based. It kind of rejects those conservative ideas, and it appeals to the youth a little bit more. I feel like for the most part, the local Boise music scene is changing the perspective of the youth and overall just appealing to them. It's bringing about ideas that are completely different from the original conservative ideas of Idaho. And I think that's fantastic to see some diversity in the community, you know what I mean?
Do you think the local music scene here is youth driven?
Oh, for sure. I mean, for the most part, maybe there's underlying variables. Maybe, you know, people who are adults, they just don't have time to go, you know, experience the music scene. But because of how many youth cultures and just the youth in general, how many people have the free time to go watch shows and, you know, have that experience. I feel like it's definitely youth driven. There's a lot of you know, a lot of attention going around in terms of, I guess, youth culture.
Do you think there's something like specific that young kids in Boise are like writing a lot of music about, or something they're upset about that they're trying to get out into the world?
Probably just anger against old people, man. Old people are driving kids up the walls these days. Just with divisiveness of the country and just all that business, I think it's probably just a lot of factors.
And I could see that really manifest itself in Boise, because I think it's a very youth and not elderly, but youth and older generation divided area, because you have, you know, there's a lot of kids here and we have a great music scene, and we have, you know, a lot of cool high schools, and, you know, we have a university that's a huge part of youth culture. But at the same time, I feel like Meridian is almost turning into like a semi-retirement community, you know?
Drove from Boise to San Jose just so we could say hey in person.
Through a rhetorical analysis of the Boise music scene, I discovered that band and fan relationships, the internet, and youth culture greatly dictates the music and its rhetoric found in Boise. Additionally, the rhetoric in this group is often politically charged and focused towards a specific audience. I'd like to thank Carsen, Quetz and Cam so much for sharing their perspectives. I'd also like to thank all the local bands that make the Boise local music scene so great. Please support them, especially during these trying times. And of course, thank you for listening.